Okay, you may start now.
Good evening, all. Wish everyone a happy Independence Day. Hope we all stay safe and stay united in this pandemic. Now it's an immense pleasure to let you know that today Department of Journalism and Mass Communication along with IQAC cell of Gurudas College is organizing a state level webinar on understanding COVID-19 confronting the pandemic structure from communication and media studies, which will be discussed by our beloved and most respected teacher, Professor Abir Chattopadhyay, Head, Department of Journalism and Mass Communication of Jaipuria College, Kolkata. The topic is very relevant as we are all witnessing different form of communication, both government and private, regarding the pandemic, which are creating confusion in public. In this context, the role of media is of crucial importance, and we look forward to hear from Sir the different dimensions of the topic. To begin with the proceedings, the first task is to acknowledge the encouragement and support of Principal Madam of her college to organize this event. It is unfortunate that for some unavoidable reasons, Principal Madam will not be present in this live streaming, but she has sent the message to read out in this occasion. So I will now read out the message of Principal Madam. It's a great pleasure for me to announce the Department of Journalism and Mass Communication and IQAC of Gurudas College are jointly organizing this webinar titled Understanding COVID-19 Confronting the Pandemic Structure from Communication and Media Studies today, the 15th August 2020. This is a very crucial time for the entire civilization. This pandemic has brought into sharp focus the role of media in this age of convergence of media technologies. Questions are being raised too about media and its handling of COVID. COVID has influenced various aspects of media too. In this context, Professor Abir Chattopadhyay, the head of the Department of Journalism and Mass Communication, SA Jaipuria College, and also chairman of Undergraduate Board of Studies, University of Calcutta, is going to enlighten us by delivering his lecture on understanding COVID-19, confronting the pandemic structure from communication and media studies. I believe this webinar will be very fruitful to all of you. Wish for the success of this webinar. Now, I would like to request our IQAC coordinator, Professor Triporna Mojumdar, to kindly deliver speech.
Thank you, Orunima. Good evening. On behalf of the IQAC and Gurudas College, we welcome you all to today's webinar. This is the 16th webinar organized by the IQAC. Today's session is jointly organized by the Department of Journalism and Mass Communication and IQAC of our college. Today is our 74th Independence Day, but all of us are confined to our homes and do not go out until we have some urgent work at hand. We have imposed certain restrictions on ourselves so that we remain safe, we remain healthy. We are going through a very difficult time and we do not know what is in store with us in the future. I'm very sad to say that we have lost one of our colleagues in the dreaded COVID-19 before 2 days. It really pains us, but we need to find some ways and means of tackling this challenging situation. I really appreciate the initiative taken by the Department of Journalism and Mass Communication in organizing this webinar. The topic is very relevant in the current context. Our speaker today is Professor Abir Chattopadhyay. He's an expert on media studies and he's the most suitable person to deliver a talk on this topic. I'm certain that the students and all the participants present here will gain much knowledge from this lecture and will become more aware. So, without taking any more time, I request Orunima to continue with the proceedings. Stay safe, stay healthy. Thank you.
Now, let us come to the main part of our webinar. This evening, the task of introducing our Honourable Speaker is a great privilege. Professor Abir Chattopadhyay is an eminent academician in media studies at present. His field of interest is communication, media, and cultural studies. He has written many books on media studies. A few of them are Communication, Media, and Cultural Studies, Beyond Development, জ্ঞাপন তত্ত্ব ও সংস্কৃতি, বিশ্বায়ন, গণমাধ্যম ও সংস্কৃতি. Now, I earnestly request our Honourable Speaker, Professor Chattopadhyay, to deliver his expert opinion on understanding COVID-19, confronting the pandemic structure from communication and media studies. Please, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Triporna Madam. Thank you, my friend Joydeep Chando. Thank you, Professor Anuja Bagchi. And thank you, Professor Orunima Mukherjee, for inviting me to deliver a lecture on this particular topic, which I am a bit concerned about before delivering, that how much we are going to really understand the topic. However, at the outset, let me congratulate all of us for this 74th Independence Day of our country. It certainly is a privileged moment for all of us to celebrate 74th year. At the same time, we are, as Tripona Madam said rightly, that we are witnessing such a problematic situation, which is unprecedented too, that basically had shaken not only the whole world, but also our mundane lives. We really do not know, I repeat, we really do not know what exactly is happening and what exactly we can prognosticate, or we can be prognostic to our future, our activities. That's why I have chosen this topic. The topic is very clear, and I would request all of you who are listening to me to please be attentive to the subject. It is understanding COVID-19 pandemic. It's not all about COVID-19 pandemic, because all of we are suffering from it. It's not a joke. It's not a loose. It's not to be taken loosely, because we are suffering. Millions and billions of people are suffering. So I am not going to reiterate. I'm not going to repeat unnecessarily about anything, rather anything about our suffering, our known issues of our suffering, as Tripona Madam had already mentioned, that one of our colleagues, many of our colleagues have been facing this dreaded virus to die, and mostly we are all in a very crisis situation. So let us not make a celebration of the situation we are organizing webinar. Thousands of webinars are being organized, and I am let me be critical about that. So however, my topic is, as I have already told you, understanding COVID-19 pandemic. So I will emphasize on the understanding part, obviously a bit technical one. Confronting the pandemic structure from media studies angle, from communication and media studies angle. So we are going to confront the the pandemic structure. Means, it certainly means that we are trying to understand what actually the pandemic structure is. What actually we are calling it a pandemic. Is it only the disease? Because I'm telling you four layers of understanding. Media incessantly, continuously covers COVID news, or any news, be technically clear, or any news maybe, or media putting it to be related to the pandemic, right? Secondly, several layers. It is a multi-layered statistical figures that come to us from both formal sources and from social media, which we can't, I don't know whether we will call it a formal or informal. Thirdly, due to worldwide lockdown, the global economic condition, and precisely our national economic condition, is suffering from severe recession, where millions of jobs have been lost. So, and production and consumption of both commodities are in a halt. But of late, consumption of certain commodities are rising. How we are how it is it can be noticed. People already you can already notice, rather we can already notice the amount of ads of online shopping sites or online shopping apps are steadily moving upward, which indicates that consumption is rising. I'm not going to tell you whether it is good or bad. Forget that Satyajit Roy's famous flick, Shimabadho. Eta bhalo na kharap. No, I'm not going to tell you it is bad, whether it is bad or good. And in this lecture, I may be using certain issues which may be politically sensitive, maybe socially sensitive, but let me tell you, or let me assure you, my job is not to judge anyone's sentiment by telling it whether it is good or bad. So my lecture, our seminar will move definitely beyond this binarity of good and bad. So I will try to be a bit technical. Now, what is a pandemic? What is a pandemic? Just before that, let me tell you one thing, that every discipline is or has been coming out very keen to analyze what is their stand or what is their take on this pandemic. Scientists, doctors, public health experts, economists, sociologists are coming out very vocal about their stance, about their understanding toward this COVID-19 pandemic. Now, what is our job? Does communication and media studies not have anything to say except that we are transmitting many things? No, I am not a media official, please. And probably the listeners of this webinar are hardly media officials. So we are not interested what is their stand, because there are hundreds of media houses and thousands of newspaper houses. Okay, so we won't go that way. Apart from this, our subject, communication, cultural studies, has many things to say on this, which I can assure you that this will, if I am being, if I am so convinced, it can show a new light if I come out good. So my question was, what is a pandemic? Pandemic means I'm not asking for any scientific uh, elaboration. We all know that the disease spread in a havoc region, huge region across countries, can be said pandemic. No, I'm not going to tell that. For us, for an individual, at this moment, what is a pandemic structure? What actually we are dealing with is pandemic. What actually we are dealing with? What basically we are dealing with? The disease, on a regular basis, rate of getting affected, total death toll, death rate, whether there is any medicine or vaccine, organizing new health infrastructure altogether for COVID patients, for specialized COVID patients, and many such related issues. For us, for people like me, for maybe people like you, this is the structure of the pandemic. So this is an arbitrary structure. Now, as we all know, that whatever we have mentioned about pandemic, I have mentioned about pandemic is nothing but information coming to us, is nothing but information coming to us. So every information together makes a pandemic structure to us. Agreed or not? Every such information, what I get, what we get for last 4 to 5 months, in lockdown period, and even more than that, right from December, if anyone wishes to include, right from December when when in Wuhan lab this pandemic was this virus was known to have known to be there. So for last 8 months, for some people, for last 4 months, for some people for last 3 months, for some people for last 6 months, and for some people for 8 months, the pandemic structure differs. Basically, the person trudging from Delhi to Chennai, Delhi to Kolkata, walking down the avenue, what is a pandemic structure for that person? It's almost life and death. The structure, what is the pandemic structure in his mind? We cannot probably imagine. So let us not play with a particular one structure of pandemic, one knowledge of pandemic, one particular structure, whosoever has told me. No, it cannot be. As we are seeing, we are witnessing the natural plurality. Can anyone borrow the pain what Triparna madam was facing? What the family of that doctor was facing? No. So it's a typically, it's not a stereotypical situation. It's not at all a stereotypical situation. My first thing to say at the outset or in the introduction is that. So now coming back to the point, all such aspects are coming to us in the form of information. Now, as we all know, that if it is information, then it is not coming to us freely. It has a cost. So every information related to pandemic that enriching me about the pandemic, that enriching my understanding about the pandemic is not coming to me freely. So all the information are commodity. And after reaching us, when we have a certain idea about what is going on, it's probably beyond commodity. And we do not know the value of that particular situation, which you may say, what I will do? Because that value has been exploited by all such ads of Amazon and Flipkart, that you are at this moment confined in your house, what you can do, what you can alternatively do. And that value is being further channelized to us. So this is probably the prima facie structure of pandemic. As I have prepared certain things a bit technically, so the structure you can whether you can see it. The structure of the pandemic. See, pandemic stands for information over the actuality. Information, global and national, whatever. In actuality, the global and the national, we cannot get hold of actuality. What is happening? What is happening? But we can get hold. We can get hold of the commodity, the information, because no information left unsold. No information left unsold. That is very interesting. So now, if information coming to us in a certain period, information coming to us, say, please let us suppose, if it equals to the actuality. If it is as same as the actuality, then ideal situation, we call it the development studies. The development situation, ideal knowledge, that whatever the information is coming to me is the actual condition of the pandemic, globally, nationally, whatever. But we all know that it is not happening. It is not happening. Any layman, any person not aware of these things can say that it is not happening. So the development studies can hardly tell us what is really happening. So this is the ideal condition. This is not the ideal condition. If information is greater than the commodity, is greater than the actuality. If information is greater than the actuality, then it becomes commodity, because all such extra information or all information is being sold, it's a commodity that we are consuming. Information less than actuality, not possible, because we don't know what actually it would be. Now information, if we consider that information will never be equal to the actuality, then certain things will happen that we are not going to, that I'm not going to elaborate at this moment. Now, the structure, as I have already said, that it is understanding COVID-19 pandemic structure. So what this is the pandemic structure. Now, we may have, as a student of communication, media studies, and journalism, we may have the idea about the structure, because a structure is an idea, nothing but an idea. As I have already elaborated or defined, that many people may have a different structural condition about the pandemic, or structural understanding about the pandemic. So structure is basically self creation. But let me tell you, it is not always the self's condition, self's preparation, or self creation. Maybe it is a national creation. It may be an international creation. We are following, we are taking. Maybe we may take the national structure. Some are opposing it, some are supporting it. So there are also certain areas of the knowledge of the structure. Okay, fine. Now, as I have already told, what are the prime sources of information? Pandemic information upon the actuality. Okay, so what are the prime sources of information? As I've already told you, or you may know better than me, that media coverage, statistical figures from multiple sources, information and guidelines from government or other public agencies, transnational organizations, like we all know who, UNESCO, UNICEF. These are the transnational organizations. Political figures. Now, political figures, not always the ruling and both ruling and the opposition political figures. They are the very huge and major sources of such information, and common posts in social media, which I repeat, cannot tell you whether it is formal or informal, because even government agencies extensively use social media. So if that is considered to be the official one, how come we can define it, or or we define it as informal. So we are not in a position to, at this moment, because this is not our topic and this is not our analytical area, so we are taking it as serious as it is possible. So the common areas of such COVID-19 portfolio, this is the portfolio. We will be concentrating for some for some cases some global issues, and for some cases national issues, as it is, as they are coming to us, as they are coming to us. It is needless to say, that we are all in a lockdown situation, we are all confined. Now we have probably an idea about what the pandemic structure is and what kind of flexibility is natural to understand a pandemic. Now now I'm going to tell you, or I'm going to discuss in brief, what are the approaches to deal with this pandemic structure. What are the approaches? What is the tool we have? What is the tool we have? As same as it was all time before. The developmental studies, the development of structure, and the critical approaches of the structure. Rather, critical approaches to the structure, developmental approaches to the structure. As I've already told you, that if information comes down to be equal to the actuality in our belief system, the ideal system, the ideal situation, that we call development studies, because development studies will always tell you to follow certain guidelines mentioned or guidelines transmitted to you from the formal sources. But in other cases, there is a debate. But in COVID-19 cases, all of you or all of us must agree with that for last 5 to 6 months, there are huge aspects which are still not coming out properly, perfectly, or as a decision that it is the situation. Right from Chinese creation debate, the creation of China, the creation of the virus by the Chinese issue, by the Chinese, that issue, to anything related to pandemic, from medicine to vaccine, whatever. We are in a, so only thing we are interested, or rather we are witnessing, we are watching, that the shifting of deaths. Now it is coming, now it is coming, now it is coming. This is not the situation of really, we may call it that understanding the situation. This is not the case when we call that I'm trying to understand the situation. No, this is not the situation. Meanwhile, a new, because a new, a bit technically, a new signified for only communication students, a new signified, a symbolic signified has been created about the situation beyond your understanding. Even we do not understand the situation, we can understand the signified, that is new normal. New normal. This is such a signified, which even people who do not understand the situation, who do not understand the basic points of the crisis, can feel that we are in a new normal situation. this is a signifier. So, on the one hand, developmental structure approaches, on the other hand, critical approaches. We will use two different approaches at a time in this lecture. So, finally, we have come to the core area of our issue, not the lecture issue. That is, if pandemic, say precisely COVID-19 pandemic, is there to understand, then by certain information, then we can consummate, we can gather certain issues that basically popped up during this period of both pandemic and the lockdown. What are the issues? I can tell you that our knowledge about the pandemic structure will definitely include all these. But let me tell you, all these are not the disease. Maybe information of the disease or information related to that issue or information not related to that issue, but certainly popped up in this time. Am I clear? I have defined it as with a very common term. We will all understand makeover, like makeup, makeover. It's a modern word. We all understand it. These makeovers basically help us to understand what is happening. Now, you may say that, is it really? I will tell you that we are helpless. Do we have any other way out to understand it independently? No, because we are in a lockdown situation. Everything is in halt. Okay, so this is a very important factor. Now, I have defined two major makeovers. One is ideological makeovers, and another is the democratic makeovers. Ideological makeovers I will call as ideological new. Democratic makeovers I will call development new, because we are in a new normal. So let us use it for our purpose. Okay, so what are the ideological new? What are the ideological new? Among myriad of such issues, I have collected certain things. First, not really in order, but let me mention it from discreetly, from with no relation among themselves. That is, living who. US has already ended all relations with who. For such a situation, for such a condition, or for such a reason, which maybe the US Parliament do not come out or do not stand by the President Trump. But he has left who? As a student of media studies, you people may be aware that this is not the first time United States or UK or these developed countries left these United Nations organizations and who are transnational such transnational organizations. Way back in 1975 to 1980 during McBride Commission, similarly they threatened UNESCO and left. When the McBride report was completely killed, completely put in dark room, they again joined after 1995 when the globalization was already in full swing. So still on China's certain activities issue, they left who? Threatening India for such a medicine which is not still proven as an appropriate medicine. The age-old hydroxychloroquine. I'm not the expert on it, quite obviously. But still following the report, following various statements, information, that this is not the case. But suddenly, the threatening was done, and India, quite rightly, India sent that medicine on a humanitarian ground. But this thing has been occurred. The thing occurred. Situation, condition. China has been responsible for. Although WHO and many other sources have gone certain different, still some countries or some nations are of opinion that it is China who is responsible for that. And let me tell you one thing, I'm not going to tell you it is good or bad, it is right or wrong, whatever. My job is not that. And probably your job is not to judge that. We will only consider this as a particular condition that help us understanding the COVID-19. So my job is a bit different, and my intention also is a bit different. You may get the signal. China is responsible. On the other hand, what China did, China also had shown very stubborn stand, because it is also supposed to prove a superpower, that it is a superpower. Okay. Our Prime Minister and our national government wants, it is typically a nationalist activity that let our countrymen participate in certain symbolic activities like beating the plates, lighting the candle, and many things that might show us, or that might rejuvenate the nationalist condition. I repeat, my job is not to tell that I'm for it or against it. No, not that. Don't dilute it. But this is a condition for 3-4 times, say floral showers on doctors and health service people. Symbolic activities like beating the plates and lighting the lamp. And these are the conditions that help us understanding pandemic. Now, with all these, another makeover is an ideological divide. The global situation, many people will agree, is now at such a point, at such a juncture, where a new ideological divide or new Cold War-like situation is going to arise or is arising. Community spreading, another issue. Like in many countries, it has also been an issue that whether community spreading starts. I can assure you, rather you also can assure me that you are getting such messages of community spreading for last 5 months, that community spreading has started. Community spreading has started. This doctor said, that doctor said, who said, they said. We are getting, whether it is good or bad, it's apart from that. We are getting it. We are getting the structure. Who, being in a precarious condition, now struggling on Russian vaccine, struggling on Russian vaccine issue, who time and again has been changing its statements. Say on many issues, say hydroxychloroquine. It has been changing probably 2-3 times. Then come to a conclusion that people may counter me that it is a result of research. No, please, it is not a result of research, because who is giving a judgment, and who is not a particular lab where representatives of almost all the countries of the world are there, but still it is struggling with, rather struggling for a specific statement, specific medicine, another condition, which is still not there. We do not get any sign of specific medicine. Although we have developed our idea, that I've already told you, that we have developed our own structure, even not being a doctor, how to combat the situation. So it is a purely confusing situation. Now, all these we are discussing ideological makeovers. Now next, the makeover is banning Chinese product. Already order has been issued banning Chinese product. Okay, Chinese product and Chinese apps. But many people are in confusion how to do that, how to reject that. Okay, if I want to reject a Chinese, but how? Am I in a position? The solution is a different thing, but the condition appeared in the same as one of the elements of our understanding of pandemic structure. And the last ideological makeovers is the job of private hospitals. People often being very critical to the jobs of government hospitals, public hospitals. But although it has been clear all the time, but people now probably are going to understand what these private hospitals are charging. On the one hand, on the other hand, faces of some very renowned doctors have been very regular on media. This is I'm going to criticize harshly. This is an ideological makeover. This is a typical ideological makeover. Now, all these 8 to 10 elements are ideological makeovers, which ideologically somehow motivate or somehow disturb us, right? Next is democratic makeover. The first point is the lockdown. See, I am not going to blame the political figures, nor am I going to blame the health service persons, that is doctors. But there was a confusion. at the initial days, lockdown was considered to be absolutely essential to break the chain. But after 2 3 months, some doctors, we are watching in television, some doctors are changing their comment, or changing their opinion that this is not going to be the solution. Okay, as I'm not, as we are not the expert, health expert, so let us not ponder into that. But the debate continues. For this is necessary for our analysis. Secondly, United States. What has been reported? United States has been reportedly, where has been very reluctant to introduce lockdown. This has been popular report for quite some time. Fourth is suddenly border crisis popped up for a certain time. Suddenly, China, what I don't know what they are going to prove. Suddenly they infiltrated, rather reported to be infiltrated, and India in internal situation, we are almost close to a warlike situation, because armed staff, chief of army staff and high officials also also in their statements said that we have gathered almost all arms and ammunitions there at the border. Our high officials portfolios visited number of times. So whatever they have done, we the common people, that basically revived a democratic makeover in our mind, that we can't ignore. Now this ideological makeover and this democratic makeover have already created a havoc pandemic structure in our mind. It is sometimes very similar or equal in quantity in some people, maybe in a particular strata of society, or the society as a whole may be imbibing that structure, or there are some people who basically prefer to remain outside of this mass hysteric structure, or this huge structure, or the understanding of COVID-19 pandemic. It is natural, but it is not so natural. We are witnessing it is, probably we will agree uh, with such a situation. Lastly, not my speech. I will continue a bit. The whole new normal, this is probably students of any discipline will understand, will painfully understand, that the whole system has been transposed, I repeat, into online. This is probably the most problematic area of understanding COVID-19 pandemic, because this is an integral consequence, integral aspect of understanding COVID-19 pandemic. Although this is not a disease, but it has been transposed into online, which I can remember one. Basically, I have taken the idea of such confusing, confusing aspect of understanding the COVID structure is from Jean Baudrillard's French philosopher. Jean Baudrillard's one of the major books he has written. That was way back in 1991 during Gulf War time. Baudrillard had written a book called "The Gulf War Did Not Take Place." The Gulf War did not take place. And the first paragraph of that book elaborated the destruction of the Gulf War we have witnessed. Exactly what we are witnessing, what Triporna madam, what Joydeep, what me, what Onuja, and what everyone in our state, in our nation, in this world is witnessing. The death of our beloved colleagues, the death of our close ones, the death of our neighbors, the death of death of unknown persons. We are witnessing the devastation. But suddenly, but somehow, many such makeovers, many such ideological and democratic makeovers have or are suppressing that situation. We are witnessing, but we are witnessing discreetly, some incidents. Why some incidents? If you are not agreeing with me, then I can exemplify that where we were gone when millions of people trudging from one place to another, thousands of miles. Was it a joke? No. We were not even aware of our working class. Then how can we be aware of so many deaths are happening? No, we are not aware. Okay. So the Gulf War did not take place. That's why I have an idea that, or I have an idea as a consumer, as a common person, forget being analyst, that really, am I understanding the pandemic? So pandemic, not that what has been projected. All these ideological and democratic makeovers are there because our lives are in hold, are in a severe, are rather have reached a crossroad where we are not aware to judge which road is the appropriate to reach a brighter future. Our students are suffering, our teachers are suffering, health service people dedicating almost their lives. But situation somehow prevails with those makeovers. I'm not criticizing that, but this is the reality. In communication and media studies and communication studies, this is the formulation. This is the formulation. So pandemic structure, again, pandemic, information over the actuality. So commodity over the actuality. Now, information over the physicality. See, over the actuality. information. Now, all information are being in statements, media statements over the actuality. Say statements and the actuality. Now, this is very interesting. If pandemic is information over the actuality, then statements over the actuality, right? Then makeovers over the actuality. Now, actuality, as I've already told you, we have hardly any idea, but this is happening. But this is happening. Now, actuality is transposed into information. Information, above the information, there is a makeover. Now, the formulation can be aim by eye, that is makeover over the information, over the actuality, which we hardly understand. Now, actuality is not zero. Actuality is happening. On the basis, more information is happening. So, finally, pandemic stands for the makeover, because this is obscure. We do not have any idea. And information, so many information, so many statistics, so many death figures, even the death rate, even the death rate. See, as I have been talking to a journalist over phone, that I was trying to convince that person that if rate of testing becomes higher, so there is a possibility that death rate will diminish. Death rate will diminish. So I'm not going to detail the statistical figures, but this is giving an idea. That is the structure. That is the structure. This is giving an idea about what is happening. How can you avoid that? Now, this makeovers. Let me be further technical. Now, these makeovers, ideological makeovers and democratic makeovers, ideological new and democratic new. Let us define all of them as meta narrative, grand narrative, that basically, like a headline, like a news headline, it overshadows the whole news. It represents the news. So makeovers represent the situation. For news, we are seeing the news, at least news reports. But for this meta narrative, pandemic structure, we can't see the actual information, the actual structure of information. It is not possible. So makeovers basically rule us. Now, if now consider that our understanding of COVID-19 pandemic is dependent upon all these meta narratives, power centric narratives, then even if I have or you have any other version, who is going to listen? Who is going to listen? Let me know who is going to listen. That's why the consequence is not so not giving us hope, because see, Russia had let me explain. Russia had developed the vaccine. Fine, it's a very good news, probably. Now, suddenly, whether it is good or bad, whether it is effective, properly made, now Americans, from American side or from American allies side, certain apprehensions are popping up, whether it is properly made. Fine. This is creating a problem. Now, on behalf of Russia, Russia had named it. Do you know the name of that vaccine? Sputnik 2 or Sputnik New or whatever. That's a very, very problematic name, because as we all know, or probably know, that Sputnik was the first satellite in 1957, Russia, Soviet Union launched, probably symbolized the start of Cold War. Immediate after Sputnik was launched, America launched a satellite. Then the polar Cold War started using space. Now, are they in mood to start another Cold War or another such thing? Then why this name is given? And if you say that from communication and media studies, if you say that this is very innocently given, no, it is not innocently given. It is not at all innocently given. So what? Almost a new political or crisis, rather global, not diplomatic, but ideological crisis is popping up. Who, being a very small organization or being a very small organization who has started interacting with Russia for technical aspects of it. But what about the political aspect? What about the ideological aspects? What about the meta-narrative aspects? The meta-narrative shows that politics, Sputnik 2 has become probably the biggest meta-narrative. Now, in this pandemic structure, where our life is at stake, there are so many there are so many ideological and democratic, diplomatic, global ideological makeovers are coming to us, are showering on us, which basically suppress our actual idea of understanding COVID-19 pandemic, which we are suffering from, really suffering from. We are confined for last 5 to 6 months. Have mercy on us. Almost all aspects, technical, medical aspects, are in problematic situation. But ideological makeovers and democratic makeovers from both political opposition and ruling, and for all aspects of the societal positivist aspects, institutional aspects, it is showering on us. It is being thrown to us that you better understand, you better understand, you better understand this. That's why, lastly, as millions of people are in jobless condition, we must come to a point where this economic, social, and cultural revival has to be attained beyond political and social classification. We all need it desperately. We all need it desperately, need this revival. Our students need it desperately. Not any kind of situation, not any kind of consequence, not any kind of decision, but such a decision, consequence, which at least after 1 decade or 2 decades, when our students will be in their mid age like what we are, will not face questions that, oh, okay, your career was at that time, okay, but you won't get that value. No, now we have to think. Now we have to think at an emergency, on an emergency basis. So that my job was to develop this makeovers, structural makeovers over the actual structure we hardly have any idea about. With this, let me conclude my lecture, thanking you all, thanking you all, and my namaskar.
Thank you, sir. Now, the question answer session begins.
How do we different between how do we make difference between fake and real news about this pandemic situation? That is a question I have put forward. Problem is, see, if it is a news, it is the news institution's responsibility to transmit real news instead of fake news. You won't understand, we will not understand, but we are, my I can put you in more trouble, that not just news but information. Who will judge the information? You can hold media house responsible for transmitting fake news, okay, but who you who you hold responsible for publishing, posting a fake news, or fake news, fake information, wrong information, overloaded, overdraft information, overdrawn information, that is community spreading. I have received community spread, an information of community spreading, say 5 months back. It was certainly a false information, but one doctor stated that I have many things, I had many things to become convinced that, okay, this particular information probably is correct. That was not news. So for news, even you can be safe with media organizations, but how can you be safe with fake information which are not coming to media, coming from media houses? Okay. What we need to do when there is a fake news both from mainstream and social media, see, it is the same question. For fake news, if it is coming from mainstream media, they are responsible enough, probably they are responsible enough. But if it is coming from social media, and if people are going to believe that we often call it viral, if if somehow it becomes viral, then how can you be judging that whether it is a wrong information or yeah, correct information? Rather, if it holds a statement, or if it contains a statement, then that statement, whether it is learned statement or whether it is a false statement, whether it is a wrongly formulated statement, how can you be sure? Because we are not health expert, so we are in soup. Okay, next. What can a common person do, as we are doing for last 5 or 6 months, madam? Everybody, we are bombarded with the pandemic related. See, not just bad news, please. We are being bombarded with, so many makeovers, over the actual information. If I paint my face, with some makeovers, or if I do a makeover, I may not be correct in language. If I do, because I have never done this, if I do a makeover of my face, how can you be having any idea about how my face looks like? Looks. What is the original skin color? What is the you do not have any idea. As we often do hair dye, as I haven't done for 3 months. One of my students messaged me, sir, probably by seeing me on online medium, she had developed an idea that she had left college and university for a long time. I thought it was for my hair, but I could not tell that person that my hair was in this condition for last 4 years. So we are getting bombarded with certain makeover like situation we must be aware of. Okay, can an institution start such a cultural? No, 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 no. You cannot make an institution for that, or no institution can be ever able to do that. It is our understanding, as I have told all of you, that my topic was, for this reason, my topic was understanding COVID-19 pandemic. Just understanding, so I can put you, or I could put forward to a clear idea about understanding, not the pandemic. Understanding pandemic, I can give you a formulation. Okay. Okay, next. Many people also say that by continuously telecasting the news about COVID-19 actually frightens people. Yes, yes. Now, see, at this moment, on behalf of, if you say media, if you consider media houses' activity, actually, we have no other option. Probably they have no other option, because pandemic news with, that is death news, not pandemic news, not makeover, death news. Rather, let me tell you, apart from makeovers, there are also certain information about deaths, about new affected, about affected in your area. That will frighten us. That will scare us. Definitely, it is a scary thing. It is a scary thing. We cannot get it. That's why it is a pandemic. That's why it is a pandemic. That is the danger of that pandemic. We are being bombarded with some makeovers, then certain information, then over the actuality. Many people are now. Many people have started saying. Many people have started saying that whether all these things happen, or are happening, or is it somehow giving us some scary news? But let me tell you, may not be that situation. But makeovers and certain very chosen information are are being bombarded on us. That is a problem. We are additionally witnessing, apart from being frightened or being scared, really scared of such spreading of corona positive cases. Okay. Next. How do people deal with information overload or fatigue? Yes, only by understanding, only by development, only development of understanding, not physical development. Only by understanding, only by proper understanding, we can at least be able to differentiate which is makeover, which is an actual information. We at least can develop our self. That is a very important situation. That is a very important situation. Tomorrow I'm going to speak on Mukti Juddha, Bangladesh Mukti Juddha. I have found that it was not the war, but it was the understanding the situation that basically prompted the situation. So in this situation also, we need to, at least communication and media studies students are in a position to lead with these structural knowledge, that to convince people that these are the makeovers. So ignore it. These are actual information. Please accept it. At least we have an understanding what science is doing. Science is up to a new understanding of COVID virus. We also must be up to understanding what the pandemic situation is, what the structure of pandemic is. So it is our job. If it is the scientist's job, then it is our job. And this job is no less important, is as important as understanding the society, understanding the pandemic, and understanding everything related to pandemic is concerned. Next. How to deal practically the anxiety provoked by plummeting stock market and fears of a recession. Let me tell you one thing. This recession, okay, people's retirement savings are being threatened. Really. How can people manage their anxiety about this? Does even any financial expert have any idea? This is the responsibility of the government to, as economists are of opinion, let me tell you again, as economists are of opinion time and again, that please give some money to people's pocket instead of giving them relief. People want relief, but more than relief, people want money in their pocket, as they are losing their job, as retired people are losing interest rates on their pensions, or on their pension fund, or on their savings, pension savings. But what we are getting is certain adjustment. This adjustment won't give us relief in future, because everyone, at least most of the people, not contractors, not promoters, common people need money in their pocket. If can say MNREGA project, say for MNREGA project, are not you giving some money for certain makeover job? You are giving money. So under that category, or under any such category, you please give money to people. But government is probably doing that, but I don't know the actual statistics, how much people are getting benefited. But government at least has announced that. But which is needed desperately. And another part of that question was the stock market, which I'm not an expert on that, but still I can tell you I can tell you that as much I can tell you that economy and stock market need to have a proper rolling, need to have a proper rolling. Otherwise, otherwise, deflation would be another consequence, which would be very, very dangerous. People will have a huge shortfall of money in their pocket. Okay. And in this case, I don't think a very hopeful situation at this moment. Maybe in future it will give us some amount of uh, some amount of yeah, what I should say, some amount of at least recovery from this situation. But I can't really at this moment prognosticate the situation. Okay, next. Is this right to focus on only positive cases and the mortality rate, but on the that's it. That's it. To understand the recovery rate, we need to place statistical figures in a proper way. Not the instead of giving number of death, we can give the rate of death on the basis of more testing, that it will give you, it will give the public at least a soothing feel, at least. But see one thing, it may come very harsh. The previous question, the economic question, and this question, for this question, let me tell you one thing. News of financial situation, news of social sector, this question belongs to, are getting so much commoditized that any jerk in this, I repeat, any jerk, not fake, any jerk in this will be sold more, will be sold at a higher exchange rate, will get more ad. Can we be, rather, can we ignore that? Can we ignore that? This is another problem. This is another problem. Okay, next. What scope is there for the removal of ideological democracy? There is no scope. There is no scope, because this is almost coming out as per the desire of our opinion leaders, not political leaders only. Opinion leaders. Opinion leaders are giving so much important opinion and so much makeovers that certainly already that certainly already has enough disturbed us about understanding what actually the pandemic structure is. We do not understand. We have probably no idea about what pandemic structure is, because we are what is in our hand is full of such ideological and democratic makeovers. So is there anything common people can do about it? I have already told you that only thing we can do, we can make our understanding better. We can enlighten us by ourselves, because no institution will do, and no chaired people will do. It is our job to understand, to make a better understanding, and influence others and convince others Okay, next. Sir, can you highlight the point of the supreme manipulation between business manipulation of by a few personalities on the top gross? Yes. When India is suffering from investment, rather the whole global situation is suffering from investment, corporate investment, when we are banning certain products and certain apps, Jio is getting havoc investment from this 3-4 months, at least new 12 to 15 investments. Even Google has invested on Jio. So they are getting, some people are getting, some industries are getting, and uh, okay, where American and Russia are working as part, no, dear. Okay, this is your opinion, fine, I can accept that, but I can also debate on that whether America and Russia are working as puppets. Are they puppets? Sputnik 2, naming Sputnik 2 is a puppetry condition. No, they are in this, in the meanwhile, they are also trying to hold the power, That's why I have mentioned in my lecture and about an ideological divide. Ideological divide. Already ideological divide is in our vicinity. Okay, next. Is there anything? Okay. The infodemic of fake news spread faster than the virus. That's right. Not just fake news, fake information, not just fake information. It is probably the makeover, then false information, then comes fake news. Because I should not be ready to accept fake news, because media institutions are I think media institutions are responsible enough to judge which one is fake news, but I'm more interested in calling it fake information, which often media houses in the name of viral, in the name of social media collection, they often transmit that. That is a problem. What shall be the role of media in this domain? Probably media has no role apart from business, apart from doing business. Apart from doing this may be very harsh to hear, but see, all news are commodities. All commodities are to be sold. So, where in such a situation, social service comes in the scene. Now, in certain cases, media can do the social service, but at the exchange of money, at the exchange of ad, at the exchange of enough commercial value of that. So. We don't need to expect at this time, after after 3 decades of globalization. Okay, I can agree with you. Is media already confused about the fact? Yes, to some extent confused. Because social media and other web-related information are becoming so much in quantity, and makeover of those news are becoming so strong, so powerful, that it becomes very difficult to judge with your responsibility what society needs. It's probably the question of the last bench now. Okay, next. Whether students or mass, are going to lose education right in the step. This is probably a very, very important question, and I am not at this moment in a position to do that, to answer that, because we must watch the situation. We are actually at this moment traversing in that situation, but where we will reach immediately or for long term, the time has not come to comment exactly on that. But one thing I must say, that teacher-student relationship, depending upon the physicality of institution and class, cannot go with this situation. So there is a crisis. Next. You have mentioned makeovers, but if we look about the role of media, don't you think that any hope is there? Yes, of course. For common people, there has always been. That's why we are giving lectures. That's where we are understanding. We are making our understanding better. See, this is the 74th Independence Day of our country. So what basically fetched our independence? It was knowledge. Gandhi's knowledge, Bhagat Singh's knowledge, Netaji's knowledge, Maulana Azad's knowledge, Nehru's knowledge, not individual knowledge. I'm not talking about their porashuno, but their understanding. They might have havoc differences in them, but that debate somehow worked. That intersubjective condition somehow worked. Even Gandhi was opposed by Nehru. Let me tell you one thing. Gandhiji almost accepted Stafford Cripps's proposal for dominion status, but it was Nehru and Maulana. It was great Nehru and Maulana Azad who opposed that, who convinced Gandhi that this is not our our Purna Swaraj was our and Gandhi, being convinced, within 2 months, started Quit India movement. Announcement and the movement. So the debate, the understanding can make any situation better, can revolutionize any situation, I can tell you. And only the communication, the knowledge of communication and media studies, communication studies, not exactly the descriptive one, but this analytical one can help you. If you study what media transmit descriptive in a descriptive way, this is not going to give you anything. This is not going to give you anything. Only analytical communication and media studies can help you find the way out by understanding the situation, the structure better. Thank you. How many questions are there? Okay, in this pandemic situation, we're also facing problems and natural calamities, like natural calamities and economic crisis. It is more than an economic crisis. This is basically a financial crisis. Is any of this information helping? Definitely. Unless you see whatever, if it is economy, if it is finance, if it is calamities, the structural understanding what we have given you, the structural understanding only can resolve the matter. Otherwise, you will have to be very descriptive about the situation, and the descriptive about the situation will not give you any way out. Only idea about structural analysis what I have given you today can give you at least a better understanding to find out. I can't say that this is the only thing, but it will help you finding out the how to resolve the situation, at least how to understand the situation. Okay, fine. Thank you. Okay, Alec, there were so many questions. Alec, we can't hear you. On your mic. So this is not a normal situation. We are at least in such a situation. This is not a normal. Even this is not a new normal. Please don't accept it. This is not at all a normal. This is not a new normal. This is abnormal. Okay, thank you, Alec. Anuja.
It is my privilege to have been asked to propose a vote of thanks on this occasion. I, on behalf of the Department of Journalism and Mass Communication, extend a very hearty vote of thanks to the Honourable Speaker Sir, Professor Abir Chattopadhyay, for delivering an enlightening speech today. I would also like to extend special thanks to our Principal, Dr. Mousumi Chatterjee Ma'am, for inspiring us. I must mention a deep sense of gratitude to IQAC coordinator Professor Triparna Mujumdar for her guidance. I also want to express thanks to Dr. Munmun Chatterjee for constantly encouraging us. I want to convey a deep sense of appreciation to Dr. Joydeep Chando, without whom today's webinar would not be possible. Last but not the least, I heartily thank all the participants for their active participation and presence. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.